morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today. It is Thursday. We've got, what do we have going on? More programming, more news, more debate, more
debates,
fun stuff.
more agreeing on stuff like the
More
Epstein
agreeing?
files.
Do we agree?
I
Are we
think
agreeing?
so.
Don't pretend we're agreeing when we're not.
Today on Rising, I'll talk about how media companies are caving to President Trump, and that could be terrible in regards to consequences.
And we'll also be discussing, of course, Tulsi Gabbard's latest document dump on Russiagate and her attacks on former President Obama.
And The View's Joy Behar seems to have gotten under Trump's skin this time. But Robby, let's start with what's on your radar.
All right, let's get to it. Why is the Democratic Party so furious about Stephen Colbert's cancellation? Now that is a question I've been asking myself all week as we've covered this, ever since we learned that the late-night host is losing his show after CBS decided that $40 million in losses every year is maybe too high a price to pay. Now, this really shouldn't come as much of a surprise to people. It's hard out there for large traditional television organizations. They now face all sorts of competition from streaming and social media, from independent people who are in some cases a lot funnier than Stephen Colbert and can do what late-night hosts do for a fraction of the cost. Now, I say there's more fun to be had on YouTube, TikTok, Substack, X, elsewhere. I'm certainly having fun. I'm having a ball. It's how more and more people are getting their entertainment and their news from the internet. Late night is going to have to play catch up. It just doesn't have the same relevancy or pack the same punch. So ultimately, this was quite clearly a business decision, but try telling them that. Now, Colbert is certainly acting like this is Donald Trump's fault. Isn't everything. In fact, he recently swore at Trump on air. Jon Stewart went even further, singing an entire profanity-laden song about how much he hates Trump. I won't play the clip because my very patient producers are getting sick of having to bleep every video I've requested this week between this and Hunter Biden. Now look, even Keith Oberman, perhaps the most relentlessly partisan anti-Trump, anti-Republican mainstream progressive commentator on the planet, thinks this was probably just a business decision. Again, Keith Oberman, the textbook case of Trump derangement syndrome, writing on X, well, if they fired him to appease Trump, why are they letting him remain on the air as a lame duck with nobody to stop him from saying whatever he wants for the next 10 months? They may have timed it to use it as a stop to Trump. This is like Phil Donahue getting canceled. Donahue being another former commentator, one I quite liked, who was eventually put out to pasture for business reasons. When Keith Oberman is providing you a much-needed sanity check, you should be very, very afraid. Now, ultimately, I don't really blame other late-night hosts, Stewart, Kimmel, Fallon, etc., for showing industry solidarity with Colbert. That makes sense to me. But why are Democratic politicians also so upset about the cancellation? And trust me, they are furious. Representative Ted Lieu is actually circulating a petition telling CBS not to cancel Colbert. Doesn't he have more important things to do, possibly on behalf of his constituents? Isn't there somebody who needs something and spends a little more of his time elsewhere? Senator Bernie Sanders also weighed in as well. Bernie writes on X, CBS's billionaire owners paid Trump $16 million to settle a bogus lawsuit while trying to sell the network to Skydance. Stephen Colbert, an extraordinary talent and the most popular late-night host, slams the deal. Days later, he's fired. Do I think this is a coincidence? No. Okay, again, he has no evidence whatsoever this was anything other than a business decision. The show was a huge money loser. I know Bernie isn't a huge fan of capitalism, but generally, when you're losing tons of money, the business pivots, perhaps under democratic socialism. I guess we would have subsidized terrible political comedy forever. Yeah, that's why I don't like that plan very much. And of course, Senator Elizabeth Warren is equally outraged. Seriously, she will not stop tweeting about this. Does anyone think for a minute, by the way, that various Democratic politicians would be furious if a conservative news channel canceled a conservative show, or even if a show like the one you're watching right now, Rising, got axed? Now, we speak to perspectives all over the place. But I doubt it would matter to most Democratic officials, except maybe to a few friends of the program who've enjoyed being interviewed here, like Ro Khanna. No, the reason the end of Colbert is so infuriating is because the Democratic Party likes the content, and the content of Colbert was reliably anti-Trump. Just wasn't very funny.
the show's hilarious, but Stephen Colbert is hilarious. We disagree.
No one has ever laughed at the show. No one, not a person.
I laughed yesterday when we played a clip.
That wasn't you.
But really, I think.
See, I'm funny. Stephen Colbert is not.
You're asking why politicians are getting involved. Okay, I think because anybody looking at this plainly who just wants to be honest and say, yes, you're right. All the assertions you made, we don't know. We don't have any details. When we look at the clear picture from A to Z, you can see that CBS was willing to fight this, it seemed, as they watched through what happened the election season. Once Trump became president, we had a different conversation because we understand that Paramount Global has a special interest in an $8 billion merger that'll bring them with Skydance. And so Trump was actively blocking that based on cutting out a pause from a Kamala Harris interview that you did not want to play from a year ago. And so it's just like this vendetta and this personal retribution, that campaign that President Trump is on, is worth being looked at because, one, he's not only a politician, he's the president of the country, he's the top politician. And so if he's so wrapped up in this, what else is happening behind the scenes? And people want to know what all goes into this. I mean, there's so many conversations, and I'm going to talk about it more in my lens about what else they agreed to underneath this cloudy merger. But like, naturally, don't you think that politicians ought to be looking at what's going on and make sure that people are not being forced to bend a knee to President Trump or else? Because that seems to be his tactic. If you're his friend, you get rewarded. If you're not his friend, you get punished. No matter if you're a news network or a major company, he's just punishing everybody who doesn't oblige.
I have a compromise for you.
Okay.
So get this.
Okay.
So we're all, as Democrats, are very, very worried. Don't know that they're trying to make Trump happy. Okay. Because they need his approval. They need the administration's approval to do the deal. Okay, here's my compromise. No more government scrutinizing of mergers and acquisitions. No more antitrust. No more any of that. The federal government will just chalk it up to the First Amendment. Government shall make no law, not get involved. You can have corporate consolidations. Facebook can buy every company on the planet if it wants. Government can be, Bernie Sanders can whine about it and Elizabeth Warren can whine about it, but there'll be no government scrutiny of these kinds of deals. Comcast gobbling things up, Google, no more. Government
that generally
totally
comes
hands
from
off.
The Democratic
That's
Party,
what I'm in
correct?
favor of.
Yeah, so why is Trump doing this? That generally comes from the Democratic Party, the people who criticize big
Democrats
deals like
want to
this.
get in the
The
way
Comcast
of
deal, I remember
businesses
that.
operating.
No, that's not a blanket statement. They want to make sure that there's not a monopoly, right, to protect the American consumer, protect price fluctuation, protect competitiveness in the market, all stuff that capitalism
That's what
breeds
they say
and
they're
lives
doing, but
off
I
of.
don't trust them at all.
I know,
to
but
do
President
that.
Trump is simply doing this not because it aligns with anything that's in the Republican Party about being part of these deals. It's because of personal retribution. So that should bother
You think
the
Democrats don't try to block mergers because of political retribution or political calculation? I do not trust. I don't trust either side to just say what's in the best interest of consumers.
Do you want to set a standard? Like, do you want to? Colbert's show was canceled 3 days after he called out the company simply for doing something that they actually did do. It looked a little bit bribish.
It loses $40 million.
Okay, and I understand that. I'm a money person too, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. The answer to every question is money for the most part.
I just want to know what the standard is. We're talking about this in your lens too?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I'll save the remainder of my comments for my reaction to your take. But I just want some consistency. Either we're going to have mergers of corporations be political and be subjected to political considerations, in which case you have to live with the fact that the person in charge has politics that you don't like. That's the way it's got to be. Or you can do it my way, my libertarian way, and say, no, we'll have a small government that has nothing to do with this. They can't do anything about it, and companies can buy whatever they want, and we'll have no political considerations. It's one or the other. You can't have this magic fantasy land where, okay, we have the government very involved, but only with the noblest of intentions. That is a fantasy land. Doesn't exist.
Okay, we're going to talk about it more. We just told you guys. Up next, Obama's camp is firing back at Trump after Tulsi Gabbard releases a new set of Russiagate documents. We'll be right back.